Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are we getting on? Welcome to a brand new camp video. And today we're going to take a little look at the new Portcullis Prefab that is in the Atomic Shop at the moment. Have a little look at this thing. So, let's jump in. Okay then, so we're going to take a little bit of a different tack on this one to usual because we're looking at this prefab and to be honest I have some rather strong feelings on it. Mostly that I'm not particularly impressed, so we're going to have a bit of a review vibe rather than diving deep into this camp here, which I've just kind of thrown together on the back. So before we get cracking, let's have a little look at where we are. Here is the map. So, see, there we go, south end of the ash heap here, at Mount Blair train yard over there. Mount Blair in general is just on here, so right down the bottom end of the ash heap. This is a spot that I have built before. This is a spot that quite a few other people have built before. It's pretty decent, it's flat, it's up and it's out of the way. I mean, it's quite good for this sort of larger, flatter sort of build. But, let's have a look at this Portcullis, shall we? So yeah, first thing I want to say about it is, the idea is really quite cool. I like the vibe, I like the overall look of the thing. Its big problem, and there are a number of them, is basically the way it's been sort of carried off. Unfortunately, particularly in light of some of the recent prefabs that Bethesda have put out for the game that have been absolutely excellent, this one really suffers in comparison because it's really not that excellent. It's a really cool idea, it's got some great stuff about it, but bits and pieces around it really spoil the thing, which is a real pity. So I've done a few bits here. You can see I've sort of attached a build onto the back of it, which you'll get a bit of an eyeball of in just a moment. And I put a few extra bits and pieces out front here as well. But yeah, it's quite a cool idea. As you can see, first up, it is on a foundation. Fairly standard that with a lot of these prefabs. In this case, I think it would benefit from not being, because the thing would look better on the ground. It'd be harder to place, perhaps, with that, but this foundation is, in a lot of ways, a large part of the problems with it. Obviously, as you can see, it won't sink far enough down into the ground, really. This is as low as I could get it to go here, and the ground is pretty darn flat to begin with. You also cannot snap any stairs onto this, so if you want little wooden steps or concrete steps going up to the foundation, you'll have to glitch those into place, which can be done, but the fact they don't snap on when so many of the other foundations on prefabs we've had recently do, it's kind of disappointing, really. It does mean that when you're trying to path up onto it, it's a bit awkward. So if we have a look here, there you go, I'm just hitting the edge of the foundation. Oh, I made it up, look. But it's not ideal if we come over this way a little bit. Yeah, it's sort of eventually get up. We've got a bit of lump in the ground here and get up a bit more easily, but it's not really ideal. As I say, with a lot of these issues you can kind of glitch your way past them, but it could very easily have been done in a way that wasn't necessary at all, which is really unfortunate because there's potential in this thing to be really quite cool, but in its current configuration it's really aggravating more than cool, so definitely a pity there. So, yeah, there's a few other things about this foundation that are worth talking about. We'll head on inside. Open this gate. There we go. Kind of glad you can do that from there, because it actually looks briefly like you're not going to be able to open it from the outside. You can, clearly. So we'll head on inside. As you can see, not the greatest camp I've ever built. It's okay, but I really wasn't feeling the vibe of going absolutely crazy on this thing, just because this foundation, this prefab rather, was kind of frustrating to me. So, there we go, let's look at the back. So taking a look at the foundation on the thing here, you can see the seam right there. Now, I've got a nice smooth line on this, and that's because I spent absolutely ages lining up these foundations. They won't snap to it. If they did, that would actually be quite a good thing, because you could then extend the foundation out, as I have done manually, much more easily. However, the other big problem with this is the size of it, and this comes in a number of different ways. This foundation is some weird 4 and about 1/3 or so regular foundations wide. So you've got those plain ones at the back here that are the ones we have from the start of the game. Whereas this main foundation on the prefab, as I say, is about 4 and 1/3 wide. So if we pop round the side here, we've got a bit sticking out there. So I've done a few bits to dress up the walls a little bit. But, yeah, that is not half a foundation sticking out there. Not at all. If we come around the other side quickly, we have the same problem on the other side. Now, I could take one foundation off, but then you have the opposite problem in reverse, that it won't meet the end of this foundation. So that's kind of annoying as well. A similar issue in regards to the not quite right size of the thing kicks off in a number of other areas as well. So, really cool design. If you have a look at the top there, you can see we've got a little walkway across the top. There's a couple of guard posts. Move over this way a bit, you'll be able to see that we've got some... what are those things called? Mannequins, that's the word, on the top there, standing in the guard posts. Fairly simple, because it's kind of a nightmare to get up there. You sort of see the brown winch in the middle there at the top. There's actually a switch up there that will allow you to control the portcullis as well. All very cool. However, you can see you've got that safety rail in the middle, then it kind of steps back, and then there's the narrow bit at the end. Nowhere up there will a staircase snap. Nowhere at all. So getting up there is kind of a nightmare, which is why I was concerned that you might not be able to manually open the gate, which would lock you out. It doesn't, but still, you've got that switch up there, you've got a cool area up top that you basically can't get to, which is daft, to say the least. Now, you could, arguably, build a staircase up there manually. Thing is, here we come back to the size issue again, that floor up there is not a sensible height above this foundation at the bottom of the prefab. In fact, it is slightly less than 2 staircases or 2 walls or 2 stories, however you want to put it, high. So if you want to build your own steps up there, firstly it's going to look daft because you're going to have to put 2 sets of stairs together, which is never great to begin with. You could do with something being built in. And secondly, to get it to line up, you will either have to have the staircase sticking up over the floor, so it doesn't meet up at the top, which will look silly, or you will have to drop the foundations that you put behind it down below the level of the main foundation here in order to have it meet at the top. So either way, it doesn't meet up, which isn't really great. If they pulled this down so it was the right number of sort of units high, it was exactly 2 units high to that floor or something, the thing would still look great, the proportions could be adjusted to make it look fine, and they could put snapping points up there so you could connect a staircase. It would be great. Or they could have built the staircase into the thing, none of which they've done, and it really kind of wrecks the thing, because it's quite cool up there. So if I jump up here... 1, 2, there we go. Be a lot harder if it didn't have marsupial or a jetpack. I think there's the portcullis switch. Can activate that. Drop the portcullis. I'll have to look off of it again. It works. It's quite cool. But yeah, as you've just seen, getting up here is kind of a nightmare. These little guard posts, also quite cool. But no really sensible way of accessing this thing. I'm going to have to just kind of drop down and hope I don't die. Which I won't. I'll be fine. But there we go. That is slightly annoying, to say the least. One more thing that is also annoying. As you see, I've gone for the big concrete walls around this. It's fine. It's the closest thing I have that matches it. There is another set of walls that were on the Atomic Shop a little while ago that might match a bit better. I think they probably will. But they're going to have the same problem anyway. Which is, if you don't have these foundations on, you'll hit the edge of the foundation on the prefab, and you'll have to step up. It'll look weird if it even sits there at all. Now, you could go really, really junky and make it so it doesn't really matter that things are different heights. But, again, the obvious thing to do there would be to not have these foundations out back, and then you wouldn't have any steps that would snap onto the foundation of the prefab, unless you glitch them in which case they're not snapped anyway. So kind of aggravating. And you can also see here, kind of, there's a gap in the wall there. And there's also, if we toddle over this side, an even bigger one on this side. Now all of these are snapped in place. You see they're snapped in at right angles, there's no funny business going on. But this thing is also not the right number of widths. Not only is the foundation not matching up to the rest of the foundations in its width, the main structure doesn't match up to the width of snapping pieces either. So you end up with gaps like that. We come and have a look at it from the outside again. Ooh, it's not running into me copper lion there. That's ridiculous. I mean, there are ways I could close that up. But it could very easily have been made the right size so it fits, and then that's not an issue. It's just, in light of, in particular, of how good some of the recent prefabs have been, it's really frustrating that this thing has so many little issues like that, and makes it really impossible for me to recommend in its current condition, which is a pity, because the idea is really great. Yeah, I mean, you could go with this kind of thought that this was already in place, and you've just attached a camp to the back of it, and you built your walls off of this, and it's sort of a pre-war structure. That would make some sense. But again, with the foundation, it's still going to look odd and like it doesn't quite work. Like I say, you can work around this, you can make it work, but I feel like you really shouldn't have to if it was just done a little bit better. Which I'm really sad to be saying this, because, like I say, cool idea, just the execution is a bit lacking. We've got a few bits and pieces on here that are quite cool, like the pipes there. These little sort of weird torch brackets don't do anything, but there are a couple of lights up the top there that put a decent amount of light out. But here is the power connector for it, which is fine. I think it could be better placed. Probably better situated somewhere up top, maybe, or having more than one, maybe even might be cool. It reaches over the whole thing, powers all the lights fine, but yeah, just inside the door, kind of makes it a bit harder to do stuff just inside the door. Although I do like the kind of the connector they've got here. That would be a fun thing to use in other builds and stuff. It's quite nice. But yeah, even that's not ideal. Still, this is kind of what I've thrown together for the thing, and like I say, disappointment with the overall prefab aside, the concept is really, really cool. Have a little wander around, we'll do a swift look at the rest of the camp. As you can see, I've just attached these walls around the outside. I spent ages trying to get these to match up, and they just won't. The gap on either side is in a different place. They really don't line up on any level at all. And I did spend a very long time trying to make sure it was even and matched and stuff. No, it wasn't happening. Just done a little bit of work here to dress up the walls, because they were very, very plain and dull on the outside. And there's the other thing about it. Because of its weird size, there's a huge amount of foundation sticking out around the outside that also doesn't look spectacular. As I say, you could have just had the junk walls instead of the concrete ones, but even then you're going to have issues. And I feel like, especially given that there is a set that sort of matches with the Portcullis, the fact that they wouldn't work properly without a foundation on is kind of disappointing. I just think it could be done a lot better. Really just a quick thrown together bit of extra decoration on the outside here, but it's come together quite nicely. Textured it up a little bit. I like the little bricks around the bottom of the towers here. Those are quite cool. Having more stuff like that to work with in the build menu would be cool, as well as those sheet metal and stuff as a barricade. Wouldn't mind that as a separate piece. And the little signs and stuff, the torn remnants of the flags, plus the ones I added. Looks really, really cool. But, yeah, it's just... the foundation isn't great, the snapping points should be there and aren't, and the proportions are all over the place with it, and it's really kind of frustrating. So I kind of went with a bit of a military vibe for this sort of camp. See a little mess hall area tucked down here. Got a couple of guards standing by the entrance with some weapons should they require them. Somewhere to search people and stuff on the way in. Little vendor area. I kept that fairly simple. One of the things I went for was a bit of a military vibe with this. So some of the decoration is a bit Spartan in places. I think I've gone okay on it, but getting a military vibe can be a bit challenging sometimes. A little bit of a CO's tent. To be honest, it's probably the only person who's stationed here because there's no other beds or anything, but yeah, a little office space for them, somewhere to meet people, and somewhere to get a kip. Drop the Hero of the Waste statue in the middle there, just because I wanted something in the big, otherwise empty space in the middle. Got our power on the station, medical essentials over on this side as well. Generator tucked in there. I've got a few generators. I could have run cables all the way around, but I felt like it was a bit excessive to do that. So I dropped a couple of solar panels in as well. A few little bits of decoration around. Feel bad for whoever's got to sleep right next to the toilet. CO, I guess, but there wasn't really anywhere else to put it, so needs must. And I'll squeeze a little crafting area in here. Similar to what I've done recently, but it works. And we've got different areas inside this sort of facility that are divided off and look okay, I think. Just little functional areas. Yeah. For something just chucked together, it's okay. And I'm not going to be keeping this long term just because of my disappointment with the prefab, unfortunately. But yeah, I'm okay with this. I don't mind it too much as a quick job on the camp there. So you can control this portcullis gate from the top, but if you're outside, you kind of have to jump at it and hope you catch it. There we go, we got it. A really, really cool idea. Really good looking piece. Just a pity the proportions and the foundation and the upper level, so all the coolest bits of it, don't work the way I would have liked. It's a sad one, but who knows. Hopefully Bethesda will take a look at this thing and improve it and add some sort of fixes to it in a future update, because this could definitely be better. It doesn't live up to the standard of some of the other stuff they've done. But there we go. Anyway, I've gone on about this for quite long enough, and basically complained about it right the way through the video, so 'tis what it is. Hope you guys found this interesting and informative, and hope it gives you some information should you be debating picking this thing up. I would hold off and see whether or not they improve the thing personally. But if you did like the video, if you find it useful and informative, please do consider dropping subs and likes. I very much appreciate it. Incidentally, we are staring very, very much down the barrel of 18,000 on the sub counts at the moment. Just a little bit around the corner from that. So if you're on the fence and you've made it this far through the video, I'd appreciate considering a little sub drop there. I would very, very much appreciate it. It'd be a wonderful way to end the year. Beyond that, social media links, merch store, channel memberships, all that down below the video as well. If you're interested in supporting the channel that way, I very much appreciate that too. Really helps out. Massive thank you to everyone who's done that. And do join us for live streams as well. We are, of course, playing Fallout 76. Got the new update coming in a couple of days. Looking forward to jumping into Nuke World on tour, which will be just over the way from here, actually. And if you haven't done so, do join us for the Callisto Protocol as well, because that's an interesting game. Follow-up to Dead Space, or spiritual successor, rather. And yeah, a few hiccups along the way, but it's been an interesting game so far, so I do hope you'll join us for that. It's been pretty cool. Well, for now, thank you very much for watching. I look forward to speaking to you all very, very soon.